They say the grind doesn't stop. It's 4 a.m. now, 4:02 a.m. on a Saturday. So I'm creating this. Can't really sleep because I don't know. Some days are better than others, but my mind just seems to race at night every time I try to lay down. So I usually get myself to a point where I'm just so tired that I know I will pass out. Then I'll go and do that. But for right now, I figured out, hey, I got some time. Let me make a video for my people. So I wanted to have a video. I think this will be part 5 in this series. I may have already mentioned that, but wanted to kind of state that this video will talk about my initial kind of dealings with my anxiety and agoraphobia. So this will go back. I will recount kind of the nights where I had my first panic attacks, and then kind of what happened after that, briefly, and then at some point in maybe some other stories, I'll kind of talk more about the days and stuff kind of following that. But we'll see kind of how far we go with this because I don't want to make this one too long as well. So I'll start back in 2007. 2007, I was in, no, it may have been 2006. 2006. 2006, I was a junior in high school. So I'm in high school, I'm doing my thing, playing football. I would play football, did wrestling and track. So I was playing football at the time, and it was summer. We had our summer workouts or whatever, summer 3-a-days. So it was like a regular 3-a-day or whatever. And I ended up going to, home after one of the practices because I just did not feel right. Like, I didn't know what it was, but I just didn't feel good. Like, my heart was racing, and I'm like, maybe I'm just exhausted or tired or something. I just don't know what's wrong with me. Because I was like, I was in shape, I was feeling good, and then like my heart was just beating out of my chest, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, even my resting heart rate was crazy elevated. And at this point, I hadn't had a panic attack ever. I didn't even, I didn't really understand anxiety or anxiety disorders or anything like that. So I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on with my body. Maybe it's the pre-workout I'm taking or something. I have no idea. I mean, I don't think I was on pre-workout at that time. I think I was just on creatine, maybe. I don't know. But anyways, so I go home. I'm relaxing. I ended up putting a pizza in the oven. And it's just me and my brother there. And I remember taking the pizza out of the oven. And for some reason, I don't really remember much after that. I remember kind of putting the pizza like on the top of the oven, and then I was walking back toward my mom's room, and then I just got real dizzy and passed out. So at that point, my brother was the only one there. He's younger. He's like about 3 years younger than me. So he kind of started freaking out. Then he called the ambulance, and my mom was at mom's at work. So the ambulance came and took me to the hospital. They took me to Cincinnati Children's, and then they tested me and said, "Hey, I think you had a panic attack." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, why would I have a panic attack? I'm not worried about anything." Like, they're like, "Do you have like anything going on? Anything with your family? Like tests coming up? Are you worried about like sports or anything?" I'm like, "No, like I was fine. Like I literally just came back from practice. I was trying to get something to eat. I was hungry." So I'm like, "I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not anxious. I'm not tired. I mean, I'm not anxious. I'm not worried about anything. Nothing's going on in my house. Like we're all good. Like I'm fine." And like, "Yeah, we're not sure why this would happen, but here. So they gave me this like cocktail of drugs. It was just like, I don't know. They just told me, hey, drink it down. So it was a cocktail of like anxiety meds and all types of stuff. They didn't tell me what was in it. They just told me to drink it down. Um, so we ended up leaving, and my mom has never driven, so we ended up catching the bus, the city bus, back to our house. And then my mom was kind of talking to me about it and like, hey, what's going on, and anything, you want to talk about, stuff like that. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. Like, I still don't, like at that point, I was angry because I'm like, I have no idea what is going on. Like, I feel good, I feel fine. I'm not anxious. I'm not depressed. I'm all right. Like, my body's just doing its own thing. So, and then after that, kind of had one little flare up my senior year in high school, but it never. Outside of those two incidents on those two particular days, I didn't have any panic attacks since then. So for 4 years, until 2011, I ended up. That's when the kind of first big panic attack happened. So I had a panic attack on September 9th, 2011. I'm not sure why I remember those dates, but obviously, I guess if it was traumatic enough, you'd probably remember. But so September 9th, 2011, I had my first panic attack. So I had left the gym. I was working out, and I went to, I believe it was McDonald's. I was grabbing me something to eat. Went home. So I sat on the bed and I was watching TV. And then I'm like, man, my chest is really, really tight. And I have like a headache and I really couldn't breathe. So I'm like, let me go, and because there was a Walgreens right next to where I was living. So I'm like, let me just like, so I don't want to worry anybody or do anything like that. And I still didn't register that it might have been a panic attack. I just thought that I had like a headache and I had short of breath and stuff. So it's like, maybe I just need to rest and maybe go get some Tylenol PM or Tylenol something. So I ended up going to Walgreens. I grabbed some Tylenol. So I'm in the car and I take that. And I'm starting to drive back home, and then it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, I mean, hard. So, like, my chest is just beating. Like, I could literally see my shirt. My shirt was just like this. I don't know if you can see that, but my shirt was just moving. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, because I think the thing that tripped me out was, like, mentally, I felt fine. There was nothing, like, I wasn't anxious about anything. I wasn't worried about anything. I felt fine. But my body was just in fight or flight, and it was, like, through the roof. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on? And I'm like, am I having my immediate thought was, I'm having a heart attack. Because that's what it felt like to me, at least. I'm like, why am I having a heart attack? I was confused. I was scared. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on with my body. And I'm one of those people that, I'd rather not put any of my problems on other people. So I didn't tell anyone. I was just like, all right, I'm going to just go to the hospital by myself. And I was living with my mom at the time because I was still in college. And I'm like, I'm going to just go to the hospital. They'll probably tell me, you're fine, you're just having a little flare up, or, maybe your anxiety came back, but, it'll go away, blah, blah, blah. At this time, I didn't know about the whole ER process for anxiety patients, because, and I don't want to get too off topic, but ERs aren't meant to truly help people that have anxiety and come in there with panic attacks. an ER's job is to stabilize you and then get you back out the door so that they can fill that bed with someone who actually has, a life-threatening condition. So what they'll do is they'll pump you full of Xanax or some equivalent, get you to a point where you feel pretty decent, then you get out of there. Then they slap you with a $700 bill for giving you 3 pills. But anyways, so I go to the ER and that's exactly what they do. They say, oh well, let me reverse a little bit because there's a little bit of action that kind of happens before that. So I'm on, like, right by my house. There's a highway, and that highway is like one of our main highways, and it gets you to where all of our prime hospitals are, right in the middle of the city. So all of our good hospitals are kind of located in one central area in the middle of the city. So I'm like, all right, I need to go to the hospital. So I hop on the highway, and at this point, I'm going like 70 down the highway because I feel like I'm having a heart attack. And then I call 911 while I'm driving. So I'm like, and at this point, my car was kind of old. It was like an older car. It's like a 2003 Hyundai Elantra or Hyundai Accent hatchback. And I'm driving on the highway, and it didn't have Bluetooth, so I had the phone like to my ear, and I'm talking, and then it got to the point where the blood from my body or my extremities were going to my core to protect my core. So like I couldn't feel my hands, and my hands locked up like this on the steering wheel, so I couldn't move my hands. My feet were locked, so I couldn't really adjust the pedals, adjust hitting the brake and the gas. My foot was just on the gas, and I couldn't really move it. I just felt numb all over, and I'm just flying down the highway. And I'm on the phone with 911, and the operator's like, hey, you need to just calm down a little bit, calm down. Just go ahead and pull over, we will find you. And I'm like, nope. You will not find me. I will find you. I will be going to the hospital. They're like, no. The ambulance, we're trying to track where you are. Where are you? What are you passing? And I'm just like, I'm passing this. He's like, all right, well, stop there. I'm like, nope. So I'm like, I'm not about to die in my car. So I ended up getting all the way to the exit where the hospital was. So I got out the exit, and then the hospital was like up a hill. So it would have been like, another 3 minutes to go up the hill and get to the hospital. So I get to the intersection where you get off the highway, off the ramp. I make a left, and it's probably like 11 or 12 at midnight. So there's no cars out there, luckily. So I got to the middle, and at that point, I just couldn't move anymore. My body had just completely shut down. Like I could not move my arms or legs. And then they were like, we see you, the fire department and the cops, we tracked where you are. We see you, we're coming down a hill, you should see us in like 5 seconds. So then all of a sudden I see this cavalry. It's like police cars, ambulance, fire department. They're like, hey, just stop your car, get out. We're going to take you to the hospital. Because I seriously thought I was having a heart attack. And I'm like, man, my car, like, I can't just leave my car in the middle of the street. They're like, all right, we'll park your car over in this bank parking lot. So it should be fine there. And then we'll bring you your keys up. And I'm like, all right, cool. So they put me in the back of the ambulance, and then drove me up to the hill, got me to the hospital. Long story short there, they said, hey, look, you had a panic attack, here's some pills. And so they gave me some pills there, and then they sent me home with like, I don't know, maybe like 3 or 4 or maybe a couple Xanax. So they sent me home with a couple Xanax and said, hey, if you ever feel anxious again, just take these and you'll feel better. I'm like, oh, that's cool, Obviously, that's not a true or, plan of attacking anxiety. It's just popping Xanax every time you feel anxious because, If everyone did that, there would be no more Xanax in the world. So, Saturday, I believe that was a Saturday. No. It was a Friday. That was a Friday. I think so. See, now I'm getting my days mixed up. Obviously, if I can remember the day, someone can look it up and see if it was a Friday or Saturday. I believe it was a Friday. Because that Saturday I didn't do anything. I didn't go anywhere or do anything. I had my daughter, so we was just chilling, just hanging at the house. And then that Sunday, I had to drop her back off at her mom's house. So I'm like, all right. So her mom lived about 25 minutes away. So I got in my car, and at this point, like I wasn't diligent about my medicine. I didn't carry it with me all the time, and I didn't carry it with me when I was taking her back. Luckily, my brother and my cousin, they ended up coming with me to drop her back off. So I was like, hey, you guys want to ride? It's like, yeah, man, we'll ride with you. So they got in the car. We started there, and we ended up getting about 90% of the way there. And then same thing happened. Chest tightness, arms are locking up, and I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna risk it with my family and my daughter in the car. I'm gonna just pull over and let my cousin drive the rest of the way. So I pull over, and at this point, my brother and my cousin, because I hadn't told anyone what happened the day before, so they had no idea what was going on with me. And I'm like, man, I just don't feel good. I feel like, my heart, I feel like I'm having a heart attack again. So they ended up calling the ambulance, and I ended up in the back of there. They ended up just going up, dropping my daughter off to her mom, and they met me at the hospital. And at that point, they had called my mom, and then kind of my whole family knew. I have a pretty big family, so word travels fast. So people came up and saw me and was like, hey, are you feeling all right, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, he was here 2 days ago. And then they was like, why didn't you tell us? And I'm like, it's not something you really want to, tell the whole world about. Like, hey, yeah, I'm this guy with anxiety, and, blah, blah, blah. So during that time period, that was kind of like my first run-in with, my current issues. And ever since then, my anxiety has been heightened. And in my previous videos, I kind of talked about how I've kind of overcome a lot of that stuff, but that was the time where it kind of all truly began for me. And then I knew that I didn't want to live that way forever. It took me at least like a week or two of not wanting to go anywhere or do anything, and then I stared at my daughter and knowing that I wanted a better life for her than what I knew that I was giving up on, was important to me. So I'm like, all right, I need to come up with a plan. What is the plan? And then ultimately that plan led me to my family doctor. And luckily he was pretty knowledgeable on SSRIs. And that's when I started on my whole Zoloft and Paxil journey. So once I started on that, then obviously that led way to a lot of the issues that you'll see. A lot of good things too. I can't sit there and say that the medicine was all bad, because it wasn't. It helped me get through a lot. It helped me get through the rest of my college. It helped me start my career, and feel confident there, knowing that I wouldn't have those panic attacks. So obviously, I'm not gonna sit here and bash medicine and say it's bad. I'm just saying, long term, it wasn't a viable solution for me. So I will wrap up the video there. Don't want to take up too much time, but I wanted to just kind of give you guys a kind of look at how it all started for me, and kind of what I've been through so far. I think with these collection of videos, you're able to get a more well-rounded picture of kind of who I am, kind of how I deal with it, and it's some tips and tricks that I learned along the way. So I'll leave my email in the comment box below, or the little section below. So if you ever have any questions, or if you ever have any tips, tricks, anything like that that you want to share with people, write them down in the comments. Until next time, hope everyone out there is living their best life. All right, see you later.